Hello, everyone. Welcome to American Sex Live. It is another week. It is another Wednesday, but we are the same Sonny Megatron and
Flex Mentello.
No, Ken Melvoin-Berg.
Not Flex Mentello?
Who is that? Is that like a comic book person that I don't know?
A comic book?
A comic book person? No, I don't know. Anyway, we're sexuality educators, pleasure advocates, and we are kinky perverts too. We're also married. He's a walrus. It's an interspecies relationship. Today we're continuing on with our BDSM Q&A. It's been so popular, and last week y'all were like, no, keep going. And I still have questions that I've collected that we haven't answered. And in a few minutes, I will turn on the slots so you can pop on and ask questions if you have like a personal thing.
Slots and we're in Vegas.
Where is this broadcast? All right, so get vocal. I'm gonna do a little housekeeping here, which is
ball washing.
Ball washing. Yeah, we call it ball washing here because it's more fun to wash the balls than clean the house. I, for the first time, have a TikTok simulcast going on, so I'm also on TikTok Live. If y'all want to join on the regular broadcast, which is on Get Vocal, the link is in my link tree in my bio. It's bit.ly, bit.ly/ASP stream. And you're welcome to stay there. But if you come on over to Get Vocal, you can interact and pop on camera and lots of stuff. So with that said, some more of you might be like, I don't know what you're talking about TikTok. I don't know what you're talking about Get Vocal because I'm watching you on Periscope or YouTube Live or Facebook Live. Yeah, this is being simulcast everywhere. Well, not everywhere.
Or the LinkedIn.
Not on the LinkedIn. It is not on the LinkedIn. This is being simulcast in all of those places. Same as I said with TikTok. If you're watching on Periscope, Facebook, or what was the other one? Periscope, Facebook, or YouTube Live, you're welcome to stay there.
Twitter.
But you don't get, which is Periscope, you don't get the, oh man, Walrus, that's the Periscope.
Netflix used to come in the mail.
Anyway, you're welcome to stay where you are on these simulcast stations, but you don't get the benefits. These benefits are, one, if you're on Get Vocal with us, you can pop on screen, you can ask questions, you can become part of the conversation. Also, at the hour mark, we turn off the simulcast and we turn off the recording, but we stick around, and that's when we have our after party. And our after party gets interesting because everyone knows they're not on camera anymore, and this is when things get freaky and interesting. So you can only join our after party if you're on the Get Vocal platform, and that will happen at 9 o'clock specifically at 9 o'clock Pacific.
9 o'clock.
Yes. A couple other quick things. Let's see. Oh, if you're on the Get Vocal platform, you might notice a little blue diamond. You can hit that and give us tips if you would like. Buy us some coffee, and we would love it. And if you're like, but holy shit, you guys do a lot. You know, if you've been following us, you know that we give almost all of our educational work away for free because we believe these conversations are important. They're essential, but that also doesn't pay the bills. So if you're really like, yeah, I want to support everything y'all do, come on over to Patreon, patreon.com/AmericanSex. And you can become a supporter. We'll send you stickers in the mail, and you get a bunch of other stuff too. And speaking of American Sex, that is our podcast that drops every Monday on Spotify and iHeartRadio and all these places. And this week, we actually had someone from TikTok on, Katiosaurus, who does ADHD content, who I freaking love, talked about ADHD, neurodiversity, and how it affects sex and kink. It's a great episode.
And watching you two fangirling over each other was really funny.
Was it? Okay.
It was.
And we're also now on Amazon Music, so you can get American Sex Podcast there as well. Before we get started, let's see. Did I wash all the balls? I'm going to drop some links in the chat for y'all.
Did you drop my balls?
Hold on. I'm dropping links in the chat on Get Vocal, so that's the only place you're going to see them. I have some discounts to BDSM gear from Stockroom, our Patreon, our Discord community. We're a bunch of kinky fuckers that all talk on Discord. What else do I have there? Oh, also Ken's Twitch channel. We're gaming. multiple times a week. I'm on the Tuesday night Pathfinder game, which Pathfinder is like a cousin of Dungeons and Dragons.
So we're doing tabletop role-playing game. This is on Thunderpants RPG at Twitch. We're going to put it in Get Vocal. So if you're a Twitch person and you enjoy watching tabletop stuff, all my stuff is original content, and I do Pathfinder and Call of Cthulhu. So we're doing two different sort of things going on. Right now we have a triple campaign going on, and we're teaching beginners how to play, and we're introducing the game to people that aren't normally seen in gaming culture, and we're trying to make it open for everybody, and we're getting a lot of great response because people now feel a little bit more welcome to come and play, and we're doing it virtually because of the pandemic. So if you can get onto Roll20 and onto Discord, please join us there or on Twitch.
Awesome. Yay. I think we have washed the ball. These balls are clean.
These balls are clean.
We can get on to our BDSM Q&A. This has been so much fun. This has been a great series. I want to say this is our 4th week doing it. And I'm not going to go through what we've covered every single week.
Thank God.
But I will tell you, last time on American Sex Live, this is what we covered. And I see you, TikTok. I see you. Thank you. I heard somebody say they love me there, or I read it. I can't hear words. But anyway.
Hi, TikTok.
What we talked about last time, we dove into erotic humiliation and how it works, how it doesn't work, the misconceptions. It's not supposed to harm you, but it's supposed to hurt you in a playful, fun way. We talked about how to do public play safely, what kind of public play is okay, what kind of public play isn't, and how to play under the radar when you're in public. So we gave some of those ideas. We talked about the legalities of BDSM. A few people were really surprised to learn that BDSM is illegal in some states and counties in the U.S., which is absolutely Clark County, where we live here in Las Vegas. BDSM is illegal, which is really sad, but we don't care. We're lawbreakers. We dove into Dom Aftercare. We had a couple of
breaking the law.
Totally. We had a couple of viewer questions. Viewers popped on. One question was, how do they talk to a new partner and get on the same page with their kinks and, kind of do their overall negotiation? And then also how we answered a question about how to get a dominant partner to go harder and give it more. They were just like being too nice, sort of like, I can't hurt you. So that's what we addressed last time. I'm just going to look at the comments real quick. You've attempted to watch the debate, and 5 minutes in, found a baby chimp documentary and a baby elephant one. Decisions were made. I am with you. This week's guest on the podcast, Katiosaurus, did a TikTok that was hilarious. On the bed, it was like, aftercare is very important, and there's like chocolate and waters, like she's, the camera's focused on it on the bed, and she's like, you really need these things after a particularly emotionally stressful scene. And then she pans up to the TV and the debate was starting, and I was like, yep, yeah, that's about how I feel. Anyway,
it's the first presidential debate I haven't watched.
Because it's a fucking shit show. I mean, like, I just caught the highlights. I'm like, I can't do this to myself. Anyway, we're non-consensually emotionally abusing people watching because nobody wants to hear this. Anyway, I have a list of questions. We're going to get started with some of the questions that I have.
My first one is, why isn't this whiskey?
Yeah, I know.
That's my first question.
We're going to get started with some of the BDSM questions I have on my list. And then as we sort of get into the groove, I will open up the slots on Get Vocal. I'll also be trying to monitor the chat over here on TikTok as well. And like I said, if you're on Facebook, Periscope, or YouTube Live, I cannot see your comments. So come on over to Get Vocal if you want to interact. Okay, so this is a basic one. I guess to us, because we've been in the scene for a while, but I'm seeing a lot of confusion amongst new people. What is edge play? And it's like, sometimes we take for granted, like, oh, edge play. Blah, blah. And we forget that there's new people that are like, I'm not exactly sure what that means. Is that edging? So edge play, the original derivation, is that a word, of the word yes, edge play?
Derivation is a word. I don't know if it's in the context.
It's basically, it means that you are pushing the boundaries or the edges of SSC, okay, which stands for Safe, Sane, and Consensual. That used to be everybody's agreement of the cornerstone of BDSM, consent. That's changed a little bit. We'll get there in a second.
Actually, that's kind of old now.
It is. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. SSC was originally invented in the early 80s.
Back in the 1980s.
Back in 1983.
Anthony Michael Hall.
No, it came from the gay leather scene in Chicago and New York. And basically, it was for a number of reasons. One, for people in the community to feel safe with each other. Two, because S&M or SM or B and D, they didn't really call it BDSM like they do now, was starting to get a little bit more known by the general public. And it was sort of like, hey, everyone who thinks we're doing some stuff that's really bad and abusive and non-consensual, we have this tenet that we live by, SSC. Everything we do is safe, sane, and consensual. And for what it was at that time, safe, sane, and consensual made a lot. Sorry, TikTok, I just made you all vomit.
It was cool at the time because we didn't have the internet.
Exactly. But thank you, Get Vocal, for the V coins. Bye, Jane.
Bye, Jane.
There's some issues with safe, sane, and consensual, and this is a very long roundabout way to getting to edge play, but I'll get there. But it's interesting history. So safe, sane, and consensual is very subjective. The consensual part is not. We always want consent. But what is safe? If I walk outside of my door, you watch Bugs Bunny, anvil could fall on my head. Really, what is safe, right? And then what is sane? Same sort of thing. One, very subjective. Two, also low-key ableist. So a lot of people now will go by the acronym RACK, R-A-C-K, which stands for Risk-Aware Consensual Kink. And that puts the emphasis on, it takes away the subjectivity of sane and safe. And it also puts the emphasis on you are doing things that are risky. And this is, I'm bringing it back to edge play. You are doing things that are risky. So you need to be aware of the risks, aware of how to handle if something goes wrong, that sort of thing. So it added that responsibility in there. There's a few other acronyms that people use, but those are the two main ones, and I'm not going to go down a road of BDSM theory and history right now. So a lot of people who consider themselves to be edge players play by RACK. So when I'm talking the edges, I'm talking activities like knife play, breath play, fire play, heavy psychological sadism, gun play, things that could
barbed wire play.
Yeah, barbed wire suspension. We saw barbed wire suspension in Michigan. It was fucking amazing.
One of the coolest things I think we've ever seen.
Yeah, like blood play. That's edge play. Something that if you're doing this activity, even if you're highly trained, even if you have all the education in the world, there are still things that could go seriously wrong, even if you've covered all the bases. Usually it's that criteria. The edge play falls into that criteria. And you'll hear a lot, especially the folks here on TikTok, will hear a lot, educators are like, we don't teach edge play online. And this has really come up with COVID because all of the in-person, events and classes and things aren't happening. And people are like, but I want to learn how to choke somebody out. But I want to learn how to, and you'll hear a lot of people say, like, well, I don't want to teach that online because it's dangerous. Like, you're not getting hands-on instruction. Use your logic. You can see why that could be dangerous. However, and I wanted to ask you about what you felt about this. I think that things are changing. With COVID, I don't know.
These days, I think getting within 5.5 feet from something
that's edge play. But these days with COVID, we may not go back to what we had before, or if we do, it'll be a very long time. Yeah. So I think that there is a place for learning some types of edge play online. I don't know what that looks like. I'm thinking it looks more like a Kink Academy subscription where like you pay for the subscription, but it's self-learning. And like, I don't know if I would trust somebody to learn fire play online, even if you have the most thorough, I don't know. I'm still like, that's real fucking dangerous. But would I trust somebody to maybe learn about how to do consensual non-consent scenes or, psychological edge play? I don't know. Like some edge play I think can be taught online. And I think there's still other things where I'm like, oh.
I think most things can be taught online. I mean, except breath play. I just wouldn't, just legally, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. It's too easy to fuck that up and kill someone.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think, as a community, we need to reevaluate how we're, TikTokers, I still don't think we should teach edge play to 1 minute TikTok. No. But I think
I like breath play, by the way, everybody. Like that's something that I love to do, but I've had military and martial arts training that makes it so that I'm
like you're a former medic.
Yeah. So it's something that's second nature to me, and it's something that I don't want to teach. Like I'll teach you anything else, like our interrogation class, but not breath play. It's too easy to fuck up.
Exactly.
I would feel responsible.
So when it comes to edge play, especially when it comes to new people, we usually say like, hold off on that stuff. That's something that you dip your toes into later after you have the right kind of training and that sort of thing. And it's different from edging. Some people will hear the term edging and be like, oh, is that edge play? Edging is actually like orgasm control and orgasm denial, where you get somebody to the edge of orgasm and then you back off and you make them like, just fuck me. And then, it's like a tease with orgasm. So completely different thing.
And hi, Harley. Hi, Brianna. Hi, Rachel. Hi, Steve. Ooh. Hi, Big Daddy Scorpio.
So many people. Hi, everyone. Let me just look at the comments real quick and see. I think a lot of that can be taught online, but should it? Exactly. Yeah. Also, rope bondage, I think, needs to be in person. Yes, actually. Just had to educate people the other day, and so many didn't know about nerve damage being a possibility. Yeah, like
although I wouldn't call rope bondage edge play, I would definitely say it's rack and not SSC, because it's, again,
it has risks.
There's risks. Like there's nerve pinches. There's potentially dropping somebody if you're doing a suspension. No matter how good you are, accidents happen.
Right. And I think
it's not anybody's fault. I think most rope people are very responsible and do whatever they can to ensure maximum safety.
But it's nice when you're, I'm not a rope person, so I'm talking more theoretically. My mind does not get rope. But it is one of those things where it's
I'm a non-practicing rope person.
If you're a former rope person.
I've converted over to balloons.
It's one thing. He's not kidding. Balloon bondage.
Balloon bondage.
It's one thing if you're trying different ties and this and that, but there's something to be said about being in a dungeon environment or a class environment, or even in like a home, thing where there's just another couple or two or people with you that can be like, oh yeah, you tied that knot really well, but the positioning is a little off. You want to hear and not hear, because it's something that a lot of people learn very visually and by example. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. Oh, I found a really interesting old school BDSM TikTok the other day. The Woodshed in Orlando.
I know the Woodshed just got their TikTok.
So if you are out there, you're into BDSM and TikTok, follow the Woodshed in Orlando. Highly recommended.
Yeah.
They're awesome instructors there. The owners is Master Cecil and Darcy.
Yes. Yeah.
Amazing folks, great times, good educators. Can't say enough good positive things about them.
Yeah, very much so.
The Woodshed in Orlando.
This is another question that I see quite often, and I see people with different definitions. So I'm actually curious to hear your definition. What is a service top or a service dom? Like, I know you consider yourself as, and I do too, to some respect. Like, I had heard it described by somebody, and I don't know if I quite agree with this definition, that it's like you're like the mutable dom that will do anything your sub wants to make them happy. And I don't really agree with that definition.
That's not how I see myself. It's more that I think that I anticipate my sub's needs and follow through with those needs regardless of not like in regardless of consent necessarily, but in regardless of what they state a lot of times.
What are you trying to say?
So I think that a lot of times it depends on like what a sub states their intentions, like what they would like to have happen to them in what way, shape, or form.
Okay. Yeah.
I think being a service top is giving your submissive what they need, like one way or the other. Sometimes it might be in something non-traditional as far as like BDSM hardcore folks may want to have more punishment reward sort of stuff, where it may be just that maybe your sub just needs a cuddle, or maybe they need to have service oriented towards them, and maybe they had a hard day with the kids, and they know that they need to have their ass beat, or have them maybe they need to have a meal cooked for them. So it's about making the submissive comfortable. Yeah, I think, and that's more than you being mutable. Exactly, it's about shaping yourself around the submissive, I guess.
Yeah, I look at it as intention. I guess that's kind of mutable. Yeah, well, no, I mean, I look at it as intention. Like if you look at it in a professional relationship, like it's a pro dom. Pro doms still have limits. They still have preferences. They still have, these are things I don't do. These are things I will not do for you, even if it makes you happy. This is what I'm not going to do. However, in a professional relationship where there is money exchange, it's like as long as those things fall within your limits, you will do them. And the way I look at it in a in like a lifestyle situation is, I think intention, like kind of like what you were saying, like, is this, I mean, yes, everything is for the ultimate benefit of the submissive. I'm not going to say it's not, but it's the intention of, sometimes when you play with someone, you're like, today, even though I'm adhering to all of your boundaries and I'm not doing anything non-consensually, today is all about me. It's all about what I want. You know what I mean? And to me, being a service top is all about what you want within the confines of the limits and boundaries. You know what I mean?
I think an easier way for what I was trying to say is I'm trying to anticipate the submissive's needs and meet them, whether they know that, like, even before they know their own needs.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I like that.
So it's anticipating needs, for me at least. And it's going to be subjective from person to person.
Okay, we got some questions. Let's see. Rope bondage. Moving to Ohio this weekend. Yay, Harley! Congrats. Where's the question I just saw? How does a service dom separate from a daddy dom? That's a great question. Do you want me to?
No, I'll take that one.
Okay.
Service dom and daddy dom. I think it has more to do with authority and representation of authority than anything else, where the daddy dom is more of an authority figure, where a service dom, the authority is more about, it's inherent. It doesn't need to be displayed as much. It's not like one is better and one is worse, but I just think that one is more authoritarian, I guess.
Yeah, and I think it's like it reminds me of those, like, this is to that as that is to this on like the standardized tests. Like you can definitely be a daddy dom and also be a service dom.
Oh, and I have.
But because you're a daddy dom doesn't necessarily mean you're a service dom. It's all in your style and how you approach. It's the
relationship. Yeah. Because I've had some people that I've been a daddy to. I've had others that I've been a service top to. There's some that I've just been a dom, pro dom. It just depends on the relationship with the individual. And it's, I guess a lot of it is about anticipating their needs. Sometimes they need to have a daddy where they might have daddy issues, or maybe never having daddy issues at all. And that's something that they want to play with or want to explore.
Right.
But DDLG is a lot of fun. That's like one of my favorite kinds of age play too.
Is there a kink community in US you've been impressed, stood out in a good way? Yeah, actually, this kind of piggybacks one of the questions that I had, and I'll kind of morph those two together. And it was about, are there like conventions and events and stuff in
the before times?
Yeah, right. Granted, COVID has changed everything, but I'll answer that first, and I'll morph it into yours. Yes, there are kink conventions. Usually, and they're everywhere. I mean, they are. Every single weekend, practically, you can find a BDSM event. I want to say one of the best resources for BDSM events, I think it's bdsmeventcalendar.com. Do I have it written down here? Hold Where is it? Everything is yellow and I can't read my words. Yes, BDSMeventspage.com. That's it. And if you go there now, you'll see all of the conventions listed that were supposed to happen. And 95% of the dates are all like TBA, because nobody knows when they're happening. But if this were normal times, they happen constantly across the country. How they usually work is during the day, you're going to have classes and things. And then at night, there's going to be a cross between some kind of entertainment. Like sometimes there's a stage show or a burlesque performance or, different fun things. And then they usually have a ballroom or two that they open up and they have a play area and a dungeon, and they're really cool. Like a lot of them have like, here's the Littles room where you can go do stuff. And some are entire hotel takeovers where you can play all over the hotel and be naked or do naked swimming or whatever. Others are just a little part of a hotel where you gotta, go behind the black curtain before you can take your boobs out. And so looping that back to U.S. communities, yeah, they're very different. I would say the communities that we've liked the most, Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, for sure. The Adventures in Sexuality, the different and they have that the Space. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, their place is called the Space, which rhymes.
But they throw amazing events. Dark Odyssey Fusion, the Dark Odyssey events that are both in San Francisco and on the East Coast outside of Baltimore. Dark Odyssey Fusion is amazing. It's sort of if you had combined a BDSM convention with a nudist camp, 24-hour swimming and Burning Man.
It's like all the sexual sub-communities together. So there's swingers and kinksters and polyamory people, and they're all taking sex classes.
Naked Wiccan drumming in the middle of the night.
And they have
trampolines.
They have abduction and kidnapping services where you can sign up.
You can get kidnapped by clowns.
Yeah, like it's really
there's
fun.
Tents. It's amazing.
There's dungeon. There's like an erotic garden. Like all this stuff. Like I'm
trying to think of some of the other cool places or some of the other events that were on. Kinky College in Chicago was always really great.
But it's interesting. It's interesting. Like I don't know about you, but I found like regionally in the U.S., the kink communities can be very different.
They are very different.
Like if you're at an event in California, very different vibe than, also like Vegas where we live now.
Or Columbus.
Right. Like Chicago, Columbus, Ohio, like Midwest tends to be our sort of vibe.
Well, we're from the Midwest. So
but I mean, like in California, S&M means stand and model. Not a lot of people play at parties. Like in the Midwest, we just do fucking shit all over the place. But it's
more predominant though, for sure.
Yeah. But again, that's our style. So we like Midwest events, but somebody else might be like, whoa, that's too much for me. A California event is more my speed. But there are definite regional
differences. We've gone to some parties that don't have penetration in them. Like there's events in Michigan and Texas that we've been to that they don't allow penetration at BDSM events, even amongst married couples.
Yeah.
Even though it's like a sexuality-based event. There are other places where bisexuality of men that's like is discouraged, but that's more like older people's swing clubs.
More swing events. Yeah.
At BDSM spaces, it's mostly like around like how you would expect it to be.
I'm actually going to open the slots here because I totally forgot to do that.
Go ahead. Oh,
Harley commented, before doing any kink, take the time to fully learn about it. Yes, there's way more risk with everything than you see in the movies. Absolutely. Rachel adds, for the surface dom I play with, I would match Ken's definition. It's almost like service love language in my thought process.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, I like that.
And Harley says, Daddy Dom is a caring relationship that more of a lifestyle and more. In fact, I would say that Daddy Dom little girl, where that's a little bit different than a service top. Service top is very temporary. It's like being a dirty uncle, and then you just sort of like give the
right. Bye.
Bye. Get out of here, kid. See you later. Where Daddy Dom, Daddy is with you all the time.
It's a commitment.
It is a commitment. Yeah. That is a lifestyle like relationship.
And Harley is happy to answer questions as they are in a DDLG relationship, which is awesome.
Oh, thank you, Harley.
And it can be non-sexual as well. Absolutely. Mr. S, I thought Service Top lacked the relationship-driven power dynamic or sexual play. It can.
It can.
Yeah.
It can. It just depends.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there are times that you've acted like a service top with someone that you have more of an intimate, ongoing relationship with, and then there's other times where it's like maybe it's a one-off or it's a pickup play.
You know what, Mr. S, that's part of the I think of the not mutability, but it's more of the temporary nature of being a service top is that sometimes being a service top means it is a sexual sort of relationship and you're doing something sexual because that's what that partner needs.
Right.
Other ones may be purely like a spanko thing. Other ones might be role playing only. I've had some that like I had one friend that just it was a submissive that wanted to be my maid, and like you remember the maid that I had when we first
yes, that was great.
That was awesome. So and she was just amazing.
And here's the comment just on what is it? TikTok. Kidnapped by clowns! ! Question mark. Yes.
Kidnapped
We're
by clowns.
into clown play, and it's a whole nother conversation.
I run the largest clown group on FetLife.
And here's a question about how about breath play? Have you ever? My wife loves it when I do it. Yeah, I mean we do it. We don't teach it.
We do it. I mean this
we
is
do
more
it personally.
do as I say, not as I do kind of thing.
There is. It's
just
kind of
liability
said before,
reasons we don't want to teach it.
And it's kind of said before, things can go wrong. I mean, that is considered edge play. So like for legal reasons, like he said, we don't teach it. And even if we did, it's like, you don't know if you can be safe. Like oftentimes we will encourage people, like if you're into breath play, there are things you can do with just like holding your own breath and restricting your breath yourself by holding your breath that give you the
passive breath control.
Yeah, they give you the same sort of feeling, but without actually doing, having someone, or you can also do hand on, like if you want to do safe, if you want to mimic breath play, and this is something I learned from Nina Hartley. Okay, so she was talking about when she was doing a BDSM scene in a dungeon, and it's kind of for show. I mean, she's obviously having a good time, but also people are watching. So you kind of want to, you're sort of exhibitionist, you're sort of putting on a show. And she was saying when her partner at the time would take her and, be like, I'm going to fuck your face kind of thing. And she really wasn't into real 100% face. Oh, I probably shouldn't be saying F words on TikTok. Oh, well, if TikTok takes me down, that's life. Anyway, so what she would do is they kind of had a signal between them where he would put his hand here and it would look like he was doing it, but really they had talked ahead of time like, hey, let me be in control and I'll make it look like it, but it's not really happening. So, I mean, that's something you could do is like gentle hand on the throat. You're holding your own breath, but you're not actually doing the breath play because it's dangerous. You know what I mean? So there are ways you can mimic without being danger.
And if breath play is something that you're looking into, for the love of God, at least take like a 1-hour class on it, not just looking at like a TikTok.
And also no CPR, like not even kidding.
Yeah, not even kidding. No CPR. And definitely like find something that's a little bit more in depth.
All right, I'm just looking at some questions. What is the next major kink you both want to try, either individually or together? Gosh,
we've done everything.
I really enjoy mind fucks. So that's not really something I can, be like, I'm gonna do this to this one, but when opportunities present themselves for me to really fuck with somebody's head, that's what I like. And it's like, they all fall under the bucket of mind fuck, but they're all different depending on the individual circumstances. So I guess that's what I like, if that helps. Hey, Big Daddy Scorpio, how are you?
How you doing?
Doing well.
You got a question for us?
Not yet, but I'm still. I didn't exactly know how everything worked. It was just for questions, or?
Yeah,
no,
like
it's for whatever you want. If you just want to come out and hang out, it's cool. If you have a question, that's cool.
And just know though, if you come and hang out, you're being simulcast to the other places too. Cool. So yeah, but what I'll do is if you don't have a question now, I'll mute you, and then when you have a question, just unmute yourself and pop on in. Does that sound good?
Great.
Oh, hey, wait, I have a question for you because this is very important. I'm also a Scorpio. What's your birthday? I'm October 30th.
November 10th.
Ooh, okay, nice.
Yep.
Scorpio. Okay. All right, cool.
Can you even see that?
I'm gonna hit you on the mute and just pop in when you have a question.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Cool. All right, let me see. Are there any considerations dominant should take when it comes to an ADHD submissive? Yes. And I am actually going to direct you to our podcast episode for this week with Katie Osoris, because we talked a lot about how to factor in neurodiversity when you're negotiating your kink scene. So I'm not going to like rehash everything, but some of the things are, you know, knowing how your submissive reacts. Like she was saying for her, for example, she goes nonverbal. She can't follow. Like if you give a bunch of like, first do this, then do that, then do that, she won't be able to like give it maybe 2 things at a time and know that that's part of her neurodiversity. And
if I can make one quick suggestion for like, and this is things that I've done in the past with submissives that are neurodiversive, is that sort of have an operating manual for that particular submissive as opposed to submissives or people that are ADHD in general. It's the same thing with somebody with PTSD. You need to communicate and find out what makes that individual tick. What are the things that person can or cannot communicate, and then play on that. Make it so that it's a healthy and fun thing and not terrifying if they can't express themselves.
And also don't be miffed if like, don't think, okay, the first time we do a scene, we're going to go negotiate and get everything down. Like know that a lot of stuff is going to be figured out the hard way. You know, it may be like, hey, maybe your submissive has never really thought, you know, never scrutinized their ADHD and how it plays into their reactions during a BDSM scene before. So maybe they have to go through a scene or two to really analyze, like, what is happening in my brain? What would be helpful? So no, it's a little trial and error. Like it's not going to be perfect the first time, and it's always going to be morphing and changing, and you know, and people's brains morph and change too.
Yeah.
So
and it's super important to be adaptable as one can be with stuff like this, especially because you may want to try being a submissive at first, and then you might be a dominant later on, and then you might, like right now, I'm in a phase where I'm thinking about switching back to being a little submissive again, but not all the time. I've been thinking about chastity play. Like if we could get get a good device, I'd consider it. I want to see what it's like. I've never done it before.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Oh, there's a rainforest in my pants. Okay. So anyway.
Really? Is that all it took?
Yeah. So anyway, thank you so much. You're welcome.
Dick in a cage.
Seriously, like, all my blood pressure did things. I'm a new person. I don't know what just happened. Harley said that was an amazing episode. Yay! Thank you. I really enjoyed recording that episode. It was awesome. Fun with chastity. I know. I'm excited. So let's see. Here's a question.
Caroline, yay! Dick in a cage.
Yeah. Here's a question that I actually wanted to explore a little bit more. One of the TikToks that I made recently is like, people are really getting into it. And again, it's one of those things that's like an educator and just me and knowing my brain and what I know, to me, it's like, oh, I guess not everybody knows that. Like people are like, whoa. And I'm like,
So wait a minute, what is chastity play on TikTok? Is it chast talk? Is it cuck talk?
Oh, I don't know. Key talk, key holder talk. I don't know. Anyway, so I made a video, and we talked about this a little bit last week too in our BDSM Q&A about using your emotional lowest common denominator to negotiate your scene. So, there was somebody on here who they were into daddy-son play. And they were negotiating with a new partner who was a dominant, and this person was a submissive. And it was like, okay, if that partner isn't into, like, I am not into age play, I don't feel comfortable with that. Look at your lowest common denominator emotion. Like as a submissive, what do you get out of that kind of play? Oh, okay. You want to feel, like nurtured or punished, or there's authority over you telling you what to do or whatever.
I want reverse age play. I want you to be one of the Golden Girls. That would be so fucking hot if you were Sophia.
Okay, I'll do it.
Or Betty White.
So like
Daddy Scorpio knows.
One of the examples we came up with, instead of doing like daddy son play because it's controversial and partner didn't like it, instead role play Batman Robin, because it was your suggestion. It's similar dynamic. You can still get the same emotions out of it, and it's something that your partner is okay with. So, using that lowest common denominator in negotiations, that emotional lowest common denominator, I say has to happen in every kink negotiation there is, period. And hi, Harley. I'll get to you in a sec. So one of the, you're singing and I cannot think. Are you B. Arthur? Are you gonna be? Okay, great.
I'll be whoever you want me to
be. Anyway, so I'll give an example. Someone who's role playing, and this doesn't necessarily have to be a kinky person. Lots of vanilla people do role plays too. So example, okay, honey, let's get a little frisky tonight. Let's do a role play. Like, we don't normally do role plays. Let's do a role play. Okay. And then you go, how about we do like football captain cheerleader? And it's like, oh, and then so both of you have these ideas about how it's going to go. And then you have your role play night and it's a fucking disaster. Why? Because you
opted for football and cheerleaders.
It's an example.
Against Golden Girl.
Just be quiet. It's an example. So,
have you no honor?
What you didn't do is talk about what emotions you want to get out of it and what roles you want to assign to those characters. So let's say in this theoretical example, football player husband was like, well, in my mind, I'm going to be like this like domineering asshole who's like the cool guy of the school.
I want to be a Klingon.
And you're going to be like the virginal cheerleader that's like, oh, you're blonde and everyone loves you. And I'm going to just be a dick and completely rail you and take advantage of you.
Bear with me. Klingon just railing Sophia from the Golden Girls.
Oh, God!
Cornholing her like nobody's business. Thank you, Sophia. Your ass has honor! I'm sorry, TikTok. I don't know if I can say that on TikTok.
I don't even know. Anyway, so that's what the husband envisioned was going to happen when he heard cheerleader, football captain, and what you as the wife envisioned. What you envisioned was, I'm a flexible, slut that likes to spread my legs, and you're like the good boy football player who's like gunning for the scholarship, and I'm going to take you behind the bleachers and seduce you and make you
railed by a Klingon. It was 1932 in Sicily.
And I'm going to make you miss football practice. And if the rest of the football team comes looking for you, I'm just going to do them too. Well, you can see if that's what you both assumed was going to happen. Stop. How it's going to go off the rails. So I firmly, this is just another, please, I'm begging all of you, negotiate your emotions and your intent when you negotiate your scenes. Okay, thank you.
Unless you're a Klingon.
Welcome to my TED Talk, Klingon. Okay, hi Harley, how are you?
All Klingons consent because they have honor.
I just wanted to jump in and just real quickly, you were talking about how he wanted to do daddy dom little boy.
Right.
And some people are kind of on that, But what people don't realize is there's a bigger umbrella term for this, which is caregiver little, CGL.
Yes.
Yeah.
That can be anything. You could be the dirty uncle, the naughty aunt, the niece, the nephew. You could do, like you said, Batman and Robin.
Klingon general?
Mm-hmm.
Klingon general little girl?
Yeah, if you wanted to.
Yeah, I totally agree with Harley saying, because presenting yourself as a daddy dom, I've had so many people automatically be like, "Oh, what are you trying to?" I'm like, no, that's not the route I'm going. It's from a caregiver aspect It's from a nurturing aspect. It's from, you know, this particular person wants somebody to take them under their wing. And as a bonus, I get a little bit of fun on the side. Yippee skippy. It has absolutely nothing to do with wanting to, and I don't take anything away from people who do age play. That's what they do. But that's not the dynamic that I like to go toward in that type of situation.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Exactly. Even you could be the nurse and the patient.
Relationships I've had in the past.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Like you can overlay so many dynamics on top of that and still get the same emotional, you know, need, release, whatever out of it, and just put it under a different label.
I've had like the last 3 DDLG relationships I've had. One was very nurturing, full-time, 24/7. The one before that was authoritarian only, lots of punishments. Wanted to have like writing lines, getting ass spankings, that sort of thing. And then the one before that was almost age play. It was like somebody who, it was almost like a big little more than daddy dom little girl, you know.
Yeah, just a comment here. I'm ADHD and a submissive daddy gets mad when I won't answer him. And if that's something that, you know, you're like, that's not part of the play anymore, that, you know, that's something you should negotiate in your downtime and just be like, okay, there's a reason I won't answer, and negotiate maybe what to do. Or maybe, you know, when you're going nonverbal and it's because of your ADHD, and it's not something that you should be punished for, maybe there's a, you know, a hand signal that you give that like lets him know, you know, okay, you're going nonverbal because of your ADHD, you know, and that's something to experiment with and negotiate with. But if it's something that, you know, you feel is falling outside of the playful dynamic, then it's something that needs to be discussed and negotiated around.
Also, sometimes people will go into subspace without knowing what it is sometimes. And if you're ADHD, you may not be expressing in a way that the other person can fully grasp. So that's why it's so important to talk about what are your particular cues, what are the things that are going on with you, and know that that can be changing and you need to adapt to it.
Right,
you know,
right.
But communication is key with something like that, because you just, you know, there's no way to know when somebody's going into subspace if it's something that's kind of new to them. If they're doing a new type of play, especially something very physical and intensive, if you're doing some like really heavy impact play for the first time, or a new type of impact play, like if it's single tail whips for the very first time, both giving and receiving, that's a very different feeling and technique than would be, you know, from just like regular flogging.
Yeah. And that actually kind of piggybacks off of one of the other questions, is what exactly is subspace? And is there an equivalent for dominance? And absolutely. So subspace is a state that the submissive goes in, and I'll address dom space in a minute because that's also a thing. That the submissive goes into when they are in the midst of any sort of, you know, it doesn't even have to be heavy duty. It's very subjective. But basically, you know, some of the studies out of Northern Illinois University that they did on subspace have found that it's very similar to marathon runners will get high when, you know, it's like all of your neurotransmitters, your serotonin, your dopamine are all doing things, your adrenaline, your endorphins, like all of your body chemicals are like, woo. And so in marathon runners, they get that runner's high where suddenly it's just like, they're in another, you know, on another plane of consciousness, sort of.
You know what I get?
You'll see.
I get that pothead high.
Oh, okay. You'll also see people arriving at a similar state, perhaps when they are doing meditation or yoga, and they found, you know, through research, it's a similar sort of thing. So that is, you know, very generic answer what subspace is, but how it can affect people is very different. You know, some people might feel like, I'm high, I feel, woo, you know, I'm a little floaty, things seem surreal. Oftentimes after you do a scene, let's say you do like a heavy impact scene, and the person, you know, gets that sort of high, don't drive. Like, don't hop in your car and go driving because you're a little lulu right now. I mean, maybe happy, but you're, you know, some people will go nonverbal when they go into subspace, and, you know, that can be dangerous. and to no fault of the submissive, this is where the dominant needs to take over and not just go, well, submissive, it's all in your hands. Unless you safe word, I'm just going to keep going. You need to be in tune with your submissive and know, like, hey, you got a funny far off look in your eye, or you've been kind of quiet. Thank you for the pandas. And no,
What's
like, I'm going to, it's like little tips. Thank you. And you need to stop and be like, I'm going to check in with my submissive.
Grandpa likes the pandas.
Because something doesn't feel right. And I'm going to make sure you're okay. Because maybe you need to safe word, but you can't because you're in such a state with your subspace. You can't do it. Or like Katie said in this week's podcast episode, she gets to the point where not only does she go nonverbal, she gets to the point where she wants to push herself further than she should actually go because her judgment gets clouded. So your submissive could get into that state as well. So it is absolutely your responsibility, dominance, to check in with your submissives and not just be like, you got the safe word, it's in your hands. That's not cool.
And you know what, dominance? It's okay to shut down a scene if you think that you need to. If your gut is telling you to shut down a scene, just shut it down. Don't think about it twice. Every time that I second guess myself, I think people have pretty good intuition normally. And if something's telling you to do something, your first instinct is usually your correct one.
Yeah.
So I would say just shut it down automatically. If you're even thinking that you should, don't even question it. Shut it down for a second. Check in with the submissive, see what's going on with them, and then continue on. Oh, thank you, Big Daddy Scorpio.
Oh, Coilers is on TikTok saying, I seen you guys from this angle is different. That's really funny.
Coilers!
Hi! And thank you, Big Daddy Scorpio, for the V coins. So top space, or dom space, whatever you want to call it, is sort of similar. In the studies that they've done, they've actually found, there was one study, again, NIU did this, and they found that during sadomasochistic scenes, they measured the spit of the participants and found that the dominants, was it higher cortisol or lower cortisol? Now I can't but something happened with their cortisol. I can't remember. You can look it up. And which is really interesting. And, you know, granted, the brain chemicals and the neurotransmitters and the endorphins and the adrenaline, all that stuff is going haywire too. But, you know, we're not exactly sure if it's the exact same thing in tops. I've heard it compared to like the state of flow that you get in when you're just like really into your, you know, you get into that state of flow, and it is sort of still an altered state of consciousness, but it might be similar to subspace, but also a little bit different because you're coming at things from a different point of view. But know that because of these altered states, both doms and submissives can and likely do need aftercare after their scenes. It's not just something that a submissive needs. So
yeah, for me, for example, I do a lot of heavy impact play and heavy psychological play. So because the kind of play that Sunny and I like to do is so intense, I like to know that I'm not actually a piece of shit for doing very, very intense things, whether it's heavy impact hitting people or it's like severe psychological play. I know that I'm not a piece of shit going into it. I know that I've got consent. I know that we negotiated it. But when I get out of it, that's just, you know, kind of how I am. I'm very sensitive, and I think that I can sometimes overthink it a bit. And I think it's just important for me to know at least that I'm not a total piece of shit after hitting somebody for a while.
And like, you know, one thing that's said often in BDSM, and this applies to just the last thing we were talking about too, is, you know, when it comes to backing off, like Ken is saying, you know, when you have a feeling something might be off, listen to your first instinct and just shut down the scene or back off, take a break and check in. Like as a dominant, you can red, you can yellow, you can, you know, it's not just the submissive that has that ability.
That's a really good point.
And
that's kind of what I do when I'm shutting down a scene. Like if I see, as a medic, sometimes I'll recognize somebody going into physical shock because they're like, especially like hardcore pain sluts that really like to go and test their limits and see how far that they can take it. And although they might be able to physically take more, their body, you can see, is starting to shut down a little bit, and it's going into physical shock. And I feel the need to shut that down just because, like, I can see if we go a little bit too far, you know?
Yeah. But oftentimes it's said, you know, think about this with BDSM, especially if you're new. Because there's this thing, Dom frenzy or sub frenzy. Like you're a kid in a candy store. You just discovered BDSM and you want to do it all. You want to go harder, do all the things right now. And once you go too far, you can't take that back. But if you stop before you reach that point of going too far, you can always do more next time. So really think about that. Like, because sometimes you can push a limit and you're either going to hurt yourself physically, mentally, it's going to be a bad experience, that sort of thing. There's a question here. What does Dom aftercare look like? And that is very subjective. Just like,
for me, it looks like blowjobs.
Yeah, I mean, but it's very subjective. Just like you need to negotiate your scene. And again, don't forget your emotional state that you negotiate. You need to negotiate your aftercare too. So some Doms need blowjobs. Some Doms
specifically, so I know I'm not a piece of shit, blowjobs with eye contact. That's how I really know. I need the eye contact.
Okay. To each his own. So, it could be like your stereotypical form of aftercare is like cuddles and you did good, reassurance. It could be, there's some people that their aftercare is leave me alone. Their aftercare is like, I need to be by myself and process. So it can look very different to different people. It all depends. And it's something you need to negotiate. And if you're not sure because you're new, know that it's going to be trial and error. Be upfront with, maybe you're a Dom and you're playing for the first time with a submissive who's done this a few times, is more experienced. Just be upfront and be like, I don't know what I'm going to need when I'm done. I've never done this before. I've never gone this hard before. So can you just sort of be on standby for me? Or I often will encourage people, if you are playing at a party, an event, something where there's other people, or you even have like a close friend that you can phone in afterwards, outsource your aftercare to other people. Because if you both need aftercare and you both need some serious aftercare and you can't be there for each other, you can outsource it and have an aftercare team, which I really, really enjoy.
Oh, that's a great idea. One thing that I would like to add to all of this, if you are brand new to BDSM, there is no one true way to do BDSM. That is up to you as an individual, what is the right way and what is the wrong way to do it. And anybody that insists that this is the way you are a Dom or this is the way that you are a sub because I said so is more than likely full of shit.
Yeah.
Because they cannot decide for you what is good and what is not good, because we all have different backgrounds, we grow up differently, we have different life experiences, and all of that adding up together is kind of what makes who you are now. And you might be, who knows what phase of life that you're in at that particular time.
I'm going to answer. We've got 3 minutes left, or 2 minutes left of the recording. I'm going to answer one more question on TikTok, and then I'm going to shut down the recording. That means the simulcast on Periscope, Facebook, and YouTube will stop. But we will continue to be on Get Vocal, and we will continue to be on TikTok. Thank you. What are those, like little toilet papers? Was it a burrito? I don't know, but thank you. It was awesome.
Oh, there's more.
Bravo. Yay, thank you.
you.
There's one more question that I wanted to address before we went. I had a Dom minimize their aftercare needs. Any tips to engage about that? He did drop and have self-doubt. So I will say that as dominants, and especially if we're a cis male dominant, there is this archetype that we think we need to live up to, like the tough guy, and even myself as a woman dominant, it's like, I have to wrestle with, like, am I going to appear weak? Am I going to appear needy when I was just the one in charge? And, I would encourage, it's that sort of communication and encouragement of self-awareness is more than just one conversation. But when it sounds like they're having a hard time being like, I am needy. I do need things. And even though I'm dominant, it's okay. And I would recommend starting off with reassurance. Like, it's fine. Like, you were a badass when you were doming me, and you taking care of your needs does not change my view of you. It doesn't take anything away from, the authority that you have in that respect. And that it is a form of dominance and authority to be upfront with caring after your own needs. When you're a dominant in a scene, yeah, you're like, I'm beating you, whatever you're doing. But also part of your authority is like, I am going after what I want and what I need. And if that's also aftercare and it's some tenderness or whatever it is, that is okay. You can still be a dominant and have that. I hope that helps. I don't know.
I wanted to add one thing, that being a dominant is a role that you're playing. It has nothing to do with your level of experience, because all of us have to start off as a beginner at some point. And I think that we all it's okay to screw up and then recover from your screw ups. That's how we learn. It's a learning experience. And I certainly at one point in my life did not know that I was a top and needed to have any sort of aftercare. I might have been very machismo at the time. I'm an ex-military guy. I have lots of tattoos, every bit of privilege in the universe. So I didn't feel as though I was owed, or that I was allowed to,
or deserve,
I guess, to get any kind of aftercare. And now I allow myself to do that, but that's only after I had gone through a similar experience myself. The best thing to do is to do what Sunny said, talk about it, make it a conversation, and then just let your dominant know what they, ask them, what do you need? What is it? It's sort of like when we're talking about like how you want to learn another person, is mutual masturbation is a great way, because you're watching each other touch yourself.
Right.
And it's the same thing with BDSM, not that you're touching yourself, but that you're getting in touch with yourself, and you're really looking at, what do I need after I'm done with this? For me, I need to know that I'm not a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And that it may be the same with you, because when you're in control and maybe it's your first time doing it, or it's something that is, extended past the number of spoons that you have, you need to get some of those spoons back. And that's how you do it, is by getting aftercare.
Yeah, I like that. I was going to add something, but I can't remember what it was. But anyway, here's what's going to happen. We're 2 minutes past our time. We are going to shut down the recording on Get Vocal. But Get Vocal people, don't go anywhere. We are still talking. We're still hanging out. It's the after party. So it's like you didn't want to show your face on camera before. Bam! Now's the time to do it. So if you're on Periscope, YouTube, or Facebook, there should be a link, I think, above. Maybe on Facebook, it's below. Click on that and come on over to Get Vocal and join us. And TikTok, we will stay. Are you punching me? What's happening? TikTok, we're going to stay on live too. So let me just say goodbye to the Get Vocal, or to the people who are watching on the recording. Join us next Wednesday night. We'll decide maybe we'll do BDSM again. I don't know what we'll do. We'll figure it out. But thank you.